the lesson again. I hope you all have a new book with you guys, because this is going to be one of the most important lessons in the syllabus. And I have told you, right, trigonometry is one of the biggest chapters in the syllabus, and this plays a major role, trigonometry. Right? Now you all calm down, right? I'm on better than mood in there. What is the only mood on the pay now? That's good. Gallery view right. Are me cameras on karagan barricade, please you can leave, right? Because I have given enough time. If you don't have facilities, I could have provided you. But still, if you don't have the facilities, I think you are not eligible for this class, right? So let's talk about this. What is trigonometry? Now, there is a very first concern coming to our mind when someone says trigonometry, like how to understand what is trigonometry, isn't it? Rather than knowing what is trigonometry, if you know how to work out some questions, that means your head is dumb, isn't it? So you need to know what is trigonometry, right? So even for the online people and for the people who are sitting here, very small question. How would you define trigonometry? Because now you have learned a little bit of trigonometry in your O levels as well, right? So how would you define trigonometry? You can come up with the answers. The people who are online, you can unmute and talk. You can type it on the chat. Everything we can see. So you can actually, make a decision on that. Online card, what is trigonometry? Like, what do you think trigonometry is? You can even use the chat, no problem. Or you can actually, turn on the mic and talk. This is what I think trigonometry is, because you have done few basic lessons in all levels, right? What do you think? Again. Okay, so one guy is thinking that is a mathematical concept based on sine, cos, tan. Sine, cosine, and tangent. In short form, you call sine, cos, tan. Mandanne, whether you know even this is a long form, right? But somehow you are talking about some sine, cos, tan. Okay. Any other answers? Okay. Aglayan, right? Aglayan. Yeah. So Aglayan is thinking there is a study and measurement of triangles. So let's say study plus measurement of triangles. Okay, so we have two definitions. More answers. Studying the properties of a triangle. So studying the properties of a triangle. Studying the properties of a triangle. Kabalum, Kamanatin. Shehan, what do you think? Shehan Amarasingh. Studying the measurement of a right angle triangle. So he's specifically talking about triangle, but right angle triangle. Okay. So you can see there are thousands of definitions, right? I mean, again, over to all trigonometry, isn't it? But we have more answers, I guess. But about gallery so that I can ask from these people. Right. Michelle, what do you think? What is trigonometry? What do you think trigonometry is?
A study of any angles and sides of a triangle.
Okay, study of angles and sides. So she is thinking this is about angles and sides of a triangle. Okay. Triangle. So once again, study. Okay. Then we have Achira. Achira, what do you think? Okay, a combination between angles and sides. I think this is the same, but only thing he is thinking is combination, not study. Combination. Right? Then we have Varshan, right? And we have Goshita, Goshita is specific functions of angles and their applications to calculation. Long definition, but I mean, there's something angles and applications to calculation. So basically, he is thinking it is rotating around angles, right? Angles. Okay. And we have Varshan, I was going to ask, right? Anyone else? Situmi, maybe? Situmi, what is your opinion? Okay, measure of the length of the sides of sets of similar right angle triangles and find the ratio of the sides. Okay. Laksandi, right? What do you think? Okay, Varshan is thinking method to find an exact value of a length or angle. Okay. Aisha, what do you think? Aisha, what do you think? Okay. Then we have another guy, Ashraf. Ashraf, I think you have to turn on your video. Then I'll talk with you. Shehan Amar Singh, you have already sent an answer, right? Have you?
Yes, sir.
Right, cool. So we have almost all the answers, right? Kodakati given. Osanda given. Osanda given ban.
Study of relation of sides and angles of a triangle and their relevant functions.
So basically, you think the same thing, but not study, not combination, but relation, right? Relation, right? So I mean, now this chaos, right, or else this issue, why many people don't know what is trigonometry, is because for one simple reason, because you were never told what is trigonometry, but it is not just teacher's fault, it is your fault as well, because you wouldn't have questioned, right? Okay, how many of you have questioned from your teachers, or Vidyalaya, or someone, what is trigonometry? Raise the hand button press if you have ever questioned this from someone. තාත්තගෙන් හරි අම්මගෙන් හරි ආච්චිගෙන් හරි කාගෙන් හරි මේ මොකක්ද නේ මේ trigonometry කියන්නේ කියලා? Anyone? You have Googled it. Okay. Googling is like searching for more information, right? Okay. එහෙම නැතුව නිකන් physically කායෙන් හරි මචං මොකද්ද මේ trigonometry කියලා අහපු කට්ටිය කවුරු ඉන්නවද? අඩේ. හරි මුදුකයින්. Right? Okay. So basically, when it comes to trigonometry, let's forget all these things. That's easy, right? You know, there's one thing in mathematics, not only in mathematics, also in life, called unlearning, right? Learning is very simple, but unlearning is difficult, right? Because learning means you actually collect things. Unlearning, you have to, remove them. It's very difficult, right? So same thing for the knowledge. Because when we were given some raw, facts and figures, we tend to keep them in our mind. Google is the same thing, right? So Google is actually enhancing the number of, let's say material that we keep in our head to grow, isn't it? It is enhancing all the time, right? Because whenever you want to find something, you go and search on it. And sometimes we tend to even believe it. It might not be 100% true. It can be some other content coming from someone else. But still, this is called actually crowdsourcing. Google is crowdsourcing because these sources are given by different people. So that's a crowdsourced element. But the thing is, there could be very good analysis, there could be transfers, there could be religions, there could be concepts, there could be philosophies, there could be knowledge, there can be anything. But the thing is, we don't know exactly what is it, right? So in that case, especially when we come to a topic like this, that is going to be very relevant and important for advanced level, we will have to unlearn, right? So I'm going to give you a very simple thing, very simple. So I'm going to adopt some of the words you use so that it will be very comfortable to you. So this is a relationship. Relationship. Relationship between angles on a because you all would have had angles in your mind because of the sine cosine scenario. And good news, numbers. Isn't it? Very simple. So trigonometry is not just a very small relationship, it's a very huge love story between numbers and angles. Again, story relationship right? Love story but I mean, you tend to think that is more bigger than a relationship, right? So technically speaking, this art between angles and numbers is that we are talking about here. Very nice. Again, Mara concepts in concepts. And there's nothing to remember here once again. From the beginning, I was telling you, in advanced level combined mathematics, there's nothing that you have to remember. Right? In the online, keep your mind at one place, right? And always concentrate. Then you will understand at the end of the day, there's nothing to remember in this thing, unless you actually keep your concentration in different layers, right? Right? So if you only concentrate on the content and start questioning, integrating with the program, like you can always disturb me. When you are learning, you can disturb, right? I mean, when you don't understand, you can always question. I mean, there is a freedom of the student, right? So let's move on. The relationship between angles and numbers is called trigonometry. So why I am telling that? So I need to prove it, right? So very simple. Now you remember when you were talking about sine of some angle, like let's say sine 30, and you knew that it is going to be what? A number, right? Sine 30 is half. And when you are talking about something like cos 30, you knew that it is a number, something like root 3 over 2, isn't it? And when you are talking about tan theta, right? Tan, let's say 90, and you said this is infinity. Right? Again, make a mara patta area range story. Right? You talk about infinity, zeros, right? So whole mathematics is here. Right? So basically, the very first definition, right? Main topic trigonometry. So we are going to write a small description on that. Main topic is trigonometry. So the description is trigonometry is the relationship between angles and numbers. Trigonometry is a relationship between angles and numbers. Trigonometry is a relationship between angles and numbers. Only see, we have some angle, right? You have different angles like this, right? And these angles are in a different world, right? It's in a different world. Now you are going to make a relationship with them, with the numbers you have met already in math, right? Isn't it? So basically, this is the connection between these two worlds, right? So let me call this theta. So looks nice. So relationship between angles and numbers is called trigonometry. Or you can write trigonometry is the relationship between angles and numbers. Very simple, right? So moving further, how trigonometry evolved, like how this came here. Because දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ළමයි කතාවක් ඉගෙන ගන්නකොට කායින් හරි මුලින්ම කියන්නේ මොකද කොහොමත් එක කාලෙක මෙන්න මෙහෙම ආච්චි කෙනෙක් හිටියා, right? And there was this small princess. ඕමනේ පටන් ගන්න stories. Similarly, මේකත් තිබ්බා ඒ කොහොමත් එක කාලයක කියලා scene එක. So ඒකේ I can't tell you the whole story because then I won't be able to teach you the content for the syllabus. I will have to only teach you the history of mathematics, right? I mean that lesson is more important for the teachers than the students. But students should know at least a little bit of it, right? මම ඒ චුට්ට විතරක් කියන්න. ඔයාලා ආසිත ඒ බලන්න. So I'm going to erase this and tell you the story of trigonometry, but not the whole, unfortunately. චුට්ටක් විතර කියන්න. හරිද? තමයි if you think this is sun, okay? If you think this is sun, if this is sun, right? And the earth is rotating around that, right? This is earth. This guy called Johannes Kepler, right? Came up with the concept that it is moving in an ellipse, right? But I mean, prior to that, if you take Aristotle, right? Like those kind of philosophers, they thought it is something else. They thought this is the earth and you have a circle, right? And you have sun rotating around you. So for them, sun was just an element, right? They didn't even bother whether it's bigger than the earth or smaller than the earth, but they actually imagined that it is rotating around the earth, something like that, on a circle, right? And if you check in internet, you can even see, even now there are people who think that earth is flat, isn't it? The flat earth society, right? එහෙම දන්නෙත් නැහැ, right? අපි අමතක කරමුනේ. So this is what we at least see. අපිට පේන දේම තියෙනවද කියලා අපි දන්නේ. It can be something else. But I mean, ඕගොල්ලෝ දැන් අවුල ගහන්න එපා කියන්න එපා. I'm not good at Dayan කියන එක නේ පොළොව පැතලි කියලා මලකලේ. There's no such thing, right? So now this is actually, coming from Aristotle, right? Then Aristarchus, not Aristarchus, Ptolemy, right? Aristarchus was actually solar centric, Ptolemy, and many other people. Okay, now here we have solar centric systems, I'll call it S, and here we have earth centric system. Okay, now you tell me which one is correct, solar centric the hari, earth centric? Hari. Solar centric කියන කට්ටිය අද උස්සන්න බෑ. The people who think solar centric අද උස්සන්නේ ඔබන්න තියෙන්නේ. ඒකයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවද දන්නේ මේ in front of the camera if you raise the hand it will automatically මේ come up. දන්නවනේ? So it's there. Options are there. So 8 people think that it is solar centric. Okay. ඔය හතර දෙනා මොකද කියන්නේ? Solar centric. How many of you think it's earth centric? එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. earth centric ඉන්නවා යාළුවෝ බලමු. අඩෝ එකෙක්වත් නැද්ද? online. earth centric එකෙක්වත් නැහැ. ඔයා හිතනවා. නිකන් හිතුණා. So I have one guy thinking it's earth centric. And මම මොනවා හිතනවා කියලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ හිතන්නේ? I think these both can be correct. And both can be wrong at the same time. Okay? But how both can be correct that I can prove? Both can be wrong, I cannot prove because I haven't heard anything about that particular arena in the modern science. So modern science accept both of them. Right? Quantum physics, right, is thinking that both are possible. So basically, these two models are relative models. When you think from the perspective of the earth, this is how sun is moving. So that's what you see, right? But that can be a relative motion, right? At the meantime, if you think from the sun's perspective, you feel like earth is moving. But, mathematics is always looking for the beauty, right? So the evolvement of trigonometry that starts from the geocentric, concept, where they defined one cycle of sun around the earth as 360 days. Patani. Alright. 360 days. Right? Balan maar lasana me concept ega. So then I can break down one by one. You'll be amazed to see how this is connected. So now you can understand where the hell this trigonometry is coming from. Actually, it is evolved from India, right? So they said, okay, you have the Earth and Sun takes 360 days, right? Or 12 times 30 days, 12 times 30 days, right? And now we call it a month. So if you have 30 days, this is a month, right? And they call it Rashi, right? They call it Rashi, right? So they call it 12 Rashis. We later adopted to 12 months, but 12 months is based on solar centric system. That is why we have 31s, 28s. But in their system, they didn't have such. Very, symmetric 360, right? And then you take 1 day, again, right? And 1 day is once again divided to 60 hours, right? And then so on and so forth. We divide it to how many hours? 24 hours. And then 24 hours, you take 1 hour and divide it to 60 minutes, right? And you take 1 minute and divide this to 60 seconds. And you can even go for milliseconds, right? So, if you notice, this notation and angle are very likely connected. How is that? Very simple. So, how they did it? They thought this is the Earth. Ban trigonometry wala pina dana patta lasana dana. So, this is the Earth, right? Around the Earth, Sun is moving like this. So, let's say this is the Sun moving around. So, based on the Sun's position, right, they first came up with 12 cases, right? So, these are like 12 months, right? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, you have 2 here maybe. So, this is 12, right? So, 1, 2, like 2nd month, 3rd month, 4th month, 5th month, 6th month, 7th month, 8th, 9th, and then 10th, 11th, and 12th. How many days you have in between? 30 days, right? 30 days. So 30 times 12, you have 360 degrees. So Indians, they call it Anshak. Anshak. And in Sinhalese, we call it Anshaka, right? In English, we call it degree. Right? Degree is based on rotation. You know that. So this is the basics of it. So if there's any such day that we are referring into, the movement of 1 day on the relative atmosphere of the Earth, right? The angle that particular movement subtending on the Earth is called what? 1 degree. If you take any circle, right, and take the center, and if you have an angle subtending here, and if you are to call it 1 degree, we would say that we have to consider the total angle as what? 360. So 1 over 360 of the whole division is actually a degree. Are we clear? So this is a degree. Anshak or Anshakaya. Are we clear? Baan vede edini irla nelama. Patta lasana. So you take the day and divide it to how many hours? As I said, 60 hours. And that is called what? Inch. Inch kilan again. Isn't it? Another way of telling that. Let's say you have 30 degrees, right? Let's say 21 inches. Habai mathematics වලදී අපි මේක measurement පැත්තට යන්නේ නැතුව since it's circular measurement we call it different name, we call it minutes. අම්මට time වගේම ඉන්නේ. එනේද? time වගේම. හැබැයි මෙතන minutes කියන එක මෙතන hours වගේ. හරි නේද? Then comes seconds. So let's say you have 33 seconds. Seconds. මෙතන seconds කියන එක මේකේ minute වගේනේ. So if you go further, there's no English word for this. Let's say 52 ting ting ting, that will be your seconds. So if you take this geocentric movement and divide that particular time 3 times into this 60, colors, that one part is called a second in our calculation. So that's a whole new mapping, right? So somehow you know for a fact that it is evolved from Indian mathematics, right? And trigonometry is basically talking about angles and numbers. So we have to talk about angles, right? So when it comes to angles, the very first thing we are going to meet is going to call a degree. A degree. That first subtopic is degree. 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 Right? So degree. Dagan pudi description nega. If the angles around a point, if the angles around a point, if the angles around a point said to be 360 units, said to be, set name SAID, said said to be 360 units, considering a circle, the angle subtended at the center an angle subtended at the center, which is 1 over 360, which is 1 over 360, which is 1 over 360 of the full circle, is called a degree. Is called a degree. Is called a degree. අපි මෙන්න මෙයාව ඇඳගමුද ළමයි? සර්කල් එකක් දැම්ම. වටේම 360යි. මේකෙන් 360න් එකක් ගත්තොත් එයා ඩිග්‍රීස් එකයි. පට ලේසිනේ. ඕන හරකට මේක තේරෙන්න ඕනේ. grade 8 එකේ කියලා තේරෙනවා. Very simple. Very simple. ලස්සන කරන්න. ලස්සනද ගන්න මම යුද්දා Now, after some time, this is introduced, the Western mathematicians thought, like, why deal with some, foreign, type of, angle system, because that has this degree notation and like it's very complex sometimes. Because we are working with decimals, this is working with base 60, isn't it? Api work karanwa base 10. This is base 60. This is more advanced. So it's very hard to work around. But at the meantime, it's very easy because 360 has how many factors? What factors good at the one? 360 is a very nice number, right? Ahana factors. Factors. But I mean, you have a lot. At least you know that. Therefore, they thought to use this beauty and convert this to a different type of a measurement. Measurement. So let me teach you this. So this is the second definition of the angle on Valanna. Right. So look at the second definition of the triangle. If you have a circle like this, right? And then this is my center. Okay. And I have a radius, isn't it? Radius. Radius. R. Okay. Now there's this guy. Namakdamu, Bandaya. So we have Bandaya. Bandaya is walking on the radius. Methanin Jundaya. Jundaya Bandaya. Junda Aya. Right? And this person is telling Jundaya, I actually travel a distance of R. Then Jundaya is another. Junagana is the Madapuran. But Jundaya is walking along the circumference. So now Jundaya is walking along the circumference. But still same distance. Not like this, not like this, not like this, like this. Because this value is definitely less than R, okay? This is less than R. I mean, if you think about this length, this is definitely less than R. Because R is bigger. Same distance traveled by Jundaya stops here, okay? And he is looking at the center. This particular angle is called 1 radian. Easy. Oh, grade 8 kill on the I think Magulan make a grade 9 lameter there and a grade 9 lamekino, you can test. You can use them as a lab rat. Right? Grade 8 lamekino, let's say your sister, brother is grade 8, use her as a lab rat. Again, I'm going to teach you something, just listen and tell me let me know your answers. I'm pretty sure you can teach this to a grade 8 kid, right? Montessori on the hill in the hill and but I mean grade 8 kid for sure, right? So imagine Jundaya travels twice the distance as Bandaya, twice and all. Then I'm again, 2 radians. What are you Let's say Jundaya travels 3 times of that. That is 3 radians, so on and so forth. So basically, whatever the length traveled by Jundaya is called an arc length. And you compare the arc length with the radius. Am I correct? Usually, the arc length is given by the notation called capital S. Okay. Radius is given by R. isn't it? So you check arc length divided by radius is giving you the angle in radians. So angle usually be denoted by theta. Unlike in kindergarten physics, in mathematics, we don't write RAD. We only put theta. That's it. If there's any angle without this polar sign, that means it's radian. If you have that polar sign or the degree sign, that is a degree. Simple. So the standard measurement for angle would be radian. The physics වල එහෙනම් ඇයි එම RAD කියලා දාන්නේ? මොකද මම physics කරන්නේ maths කරන්නේ විතර නෙමෙයිනේ bio කරන හරක් ටිකක් ඔයගෙ ඉන්නවා. So if they, if they were said that, with this theta don't place RAD නිකන් naked තිබ්බහමත් ඒක radian තමයි කිව්වොත් උන් සයිකෝ ගහලා they will start doing agriculture. Bio නවත්තලා agriculture හරි ඔය තව මොනවා හරි කරන්න යයි ඊට පස්සේ, right? So that is why මම කියන්නේ physics මං කියන්නේ simple subject එකක් කියලා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට physics maths වලට ඒකක් දාලා physics වලට ඒකක් දාන්න බෑ කියලා කියන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ මොකක් හරි අවුලක්. ඒ කියන්නේ psychopath හරි මොනවා හරි scene එක. Right? Because if you can score in mathematics, this is this much advanced, right, and beautiful, a very simple subject like physics can be sorted like, in a nutshell, right? Very simple. So basically, a radian is the angle subtended by an arc length which is exactly equal to the radius. Right? So the second definition, shall we write down? Radian. So radian is what? The angle subtended by the arc length traveled by Jundaya. Another way of saying that. Oh, exam වල එහෙම ලියන්න එපා. මොකද උන් දන්නේ නැහැ Jundaya කියන්නේ කවුද? ඔව් මලගලියක්. හරි නේද? තේරෙනවද arc length? Jundaya. The angle subtended by an arc length, which is exactly equal to the radius, to the radius of a particular circle, the angle subtended by an arc length, which is exactly equal to the radius of a particular circle, is called a radian. Here's the second point. So that's the first point. So now comes the second point. Such that any circular arc length over its radius defines the angle subtended by that particular angle in radians. Anubana, since one of my friends is also here, I'm going to summarize what we have done so far. And you can draw this thing, right, if you want. If you want, just don't draw it, just throw it. Right? Asana podi diagram එකක් දාගන්න. තප්පර දෙකක් දෙන්න. තප්පර තුනක්. මම වැඩිපුර එකක් දෙන්න. ටක් ගාලා පොඩි note එකක් දාගන්න. And then I am going to revise the very basic concepts I just started, that I claim that it can be even learned by a grade 8 kid. Right? බොරුවට මේ A level වලට දාලා පිස්සුනටලා තියෙන්නේ. මේක ඇත්තනම හරකෙක් වුණත් කියලා දෙන්න පුළුවන් අහගෙන ඉන්නවා. Right? උඹ ගන්න අවුල. No, not you. මේ පොඩ හිටපන් අඩ ඔබට බ්‍රීෆ් එක ගන්න නෙවෙයි. ඉකෝන් ටීචර්ස්ව දැනගන්න ඕනේ ටිකෝනොමෙට්‍රි පොඩ්ඩක්. ගියානේ බලන්න ඔක ඉගෙන ගන්න බැරි. මන් තියෙන්නම තව දාන තියෙන්නේ. ඉගෙන ගන්න බෑ. අවධානය තියෙන්නේ. But anyway I am going to brief it. Right? Anyway. Can I erase this? Domestic fellas? ඔව් වීඩියෝ සම් කරගෙන නැත්නම් මම අයින් කරනවා. බලන්න කොච්චර මිනිත් දරුවෝද කියලා. බලන්න. මොකද ඔන්ලයින් ඉගෙන ගන්න බෑනේ මචං මේ facial expressions පේන්නේ නැතුව. පළවෙනි මාසෙ මම කට්ටියට chance එක දුන්නා. දෙවෙනි මාසේ කට්ටියට කිව්වා if you don't have camera sensor let me know I will deliver. But I mean the people who can adopt they adopted and now they are learning really good. Right? අර ඕල් කාලේ මචං මේ ගොඩාක් ළමයින්ට මේගොල්ලෝ කළු කොටු වලට උගන්වන අපේ ටියුෂන් කාරයෝ කියන්නේ මචං එන අර මේ කුඩු කාරයෝ වගේ જાතියනේ. So what happens when it come to O levels රුපියල් ගියක් හරි හම්බ වෙනවා නම් කොටුවකට හරි උගන්වනවා. ලංකාවේ තියෙනවනේ ඔහොම සීන් එක. ලංකාවේ තියෙනවා අපි කියනවා නිකන් හම්බ වෙනවා නම් මන්න පාරක් හරි කනවා කියලා. තේරෙනවද? Similarly tuition people the especially the O level teachers I'm really ungrateful about it. If they get money they do anything. Right? කොටුවකට හරි උගන්වනවා. So then the A level teachers are in trouble because we can't teach class. We need human because we need advanced brains. අර ඕල් කාලේ එහෙම උගන්වන හින්දා තමයි ළමයි අර TikTok වල මල් සින්දු වලට නටන්නේ අපෝ. නැද්ද කියන්නේ? ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ වගේ ගොබ්බ જાතියක් හැදෙන්නේ ඒකනේ. And like ඒ propagation එක තමයි when you go upward trend you can see these garment factory people they are dancing for these chinkichika bands, right? We only have 6-8 beats. උන්ට ක්ලාසිකල් සින්දුවක් එහෙම අහන්න දුන්නොත් එන්නේ මේ මොනවදලු මේ ඊය ගන්න. උන් අහනවා එන ඊය. But they don't even understand. Why? Because our ordinary level education is the shittiest in Asia. To be honest, shittiest in Asia. Right? Math ne, politics ne, science ne, music ne, art ne, mukut ne. Right? So it's a shitload. Right? So that is why you are here. So let's move on. Right? So I'm going to brief this quickly. Right? So now we have the story from the beginning. Taggala bala ganna. Ahan hirupu nathi kattiya, ahagena hitapu kattiya, ahan inna aasa kattiya, hamum balagana. Right? We have two ways of thinking about the solar system. One is solar centric, other one is the earth centric. Surya kendravadi sa Prithvi kendravadi. Right? In Sinhalese. Solar centric system, Johannes Kepler proved that if solar is the center, that earth moves in an ellipse. Right? And calculation comes as 365 days plus 1/4 of a day plus some shit. Right? This is not even certain. Where Indians, actually this is under Grahaganita of Brahmagupta, right? So they thought earth is the center. If earth is, you can't call earth is a center because there is no such center. So Kepler thought if sun is a center, then these people thought, what about earth being the center? Then it was a circle, right? And it's coming down to 360 days. That is 12 Rashis, 30 days per Rashi. Every day is 60 hours. Every hour is 60 minutes. Every minute is 60 seconds. Right? But here they had to somehow find a covalent. So they thought, okay, we have 12 months, right? And some shitty months like 31 and bullshit months like 28, right? And use your knuckles to find it, right? Isn't it? All these bullshit and finally they said we have 365. පොඩ්ඩක් කෙල වුණාම අවුරුදු 4ක් ගියාම 366 කරගමු කියලා කිව්වා. Starter නේ. But still, we are now adopted to this and that is by religion. right? So whatever the prominent religion of a particular, era, they get the authority of delivering the math in the way they want, math or science or anything. Similarly, this took over and this went down. But I'm not telling whether this is correct or this is correct, because both can coexist. In quantum physics, there's no such thing called solar-centric or earth-centric. It's a random motion. And we can decide by looking at one particular object, according to that, how the other things are moving. Very simple, right? So, adopting to this particular concept, trigonometry is evolved such that we take a circle and we have 360 degrees, or the physical application is 360 days, right? And then when you divide this to equal 12 parts, right? So that is that Rashi concept, but we are not talking about it. Instead, we talk about days. Every day is 1 degree, right? And if you divide the day into 60 hours, right? But now we use 24 hours, but I mean, this is called 1 hour. Divide that to 60 parts again, that is called 1 minute. Divide once again 60, that is called 1 second. You can further divide, right? So that is how it was introduced. So we know degree is nothing but geometrically, if the angles around a circle is 360, somehow, if it is 360, 1/360th of that is called a degree. Hari. දෙවෙනි කතන්දර. දැන් මේ මුළු ස්ටෝරි එකම දාන්න පුළුවන් නම් පොඩි සිම්බල් එකකින් නේ. මෙච්චර මේ ඉලක්කම් දාන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. අපි මෙන්න එහෙම දානවා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ නිකන් කතාව මතක් වෙන්න ඕන නම් දාගන්න මෙතනට ඉර දාගන්න. එතන earth දාගන්න. So this is the definition of a degree. Second concept, mathematicians thought, okay, let's adopt the circle's unique content to define its angle. So Bandaya decided to move from the center over the radius and told Jundaya that, Jundaya Machang, I traveled a distance of a radius. Then Jundaya decided, okay, I'm going to do the same, but on the circumference. So Jundaya comes here, and the angle subtended here is called 1 Jundaya. 1 radian. 1 Jundaya again. 1 radian. 1 radian. And according to this, if Jundaya travels 2 times what Bandaya travels, that's going to be 2 radians. Right? If Jundaya travels 5 times that what Bandaya has traveled, that is 5 radians. So somehow, whatever the arc length traveled by Jundaya divided by Bandaya's length is going to be the angle in radians. What occurs in, right? So we can write whatever the arc length you consider as S divided by whatever the radius given gives you how many times of the radius you traveled. Radius is 5 radians. So that is theta in radians. In, as I told you, kindergarten physics, you use this notation because you have both biology students and math students there. Agriculture. But we don't use it. We keep the angle naked and we know that it's a radian. Why? There's no this degree notation. Third concept is very simple. So how can we connect degrees and naked sheet? Naked sheet can be naked beauty. So 360 degrees must be equivalent to whatever the angle in radians. So you tell me, if you have a full circle, what is the length of that? What is the circumference of a circle? 2 pi name pi. Legend pi again. Lanka vachana kati legend. That is pi. Then our podi bandil teachers say no. 2 pi r lamai. Psycho, because we don't get sex education. So when people say pi, they relate it to what? Some sexual type of cipher. Ab you again kunuharapa set kargan. Set kare na. Right? As a country, we don't get sex education. So when someone says kunuharpe, we feel like smiling and stuff. We feel shy. Right? So somehow, this is 2 pi r, that is circumference, which is similar to the arc length of a full circle. Divided by the radius itself is r. 360 degrees would be 2 pi, which means 180 degrees can go. Pi. Then pi pi Archimedes. Archimedes came up with this concept that pi is in between 22/7 and 113/355. Right? So actually, he used a hexagon to start with, then went to 96-sided polygon, did some simple calculations, and came up with this idea based on rational numbers. So pi is never equal to 20/7, right? It is very near, and it is true for just 2 decimal places, if you consider. But pi has more variations. So write down the third topic. Conversion between degrees and radians. 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 Tarwadaliya ganna. 360 degrees represent 360 degrees represent 360 degrees represent a full circle. 360 degrees represent a full circle. 360 degrees represent a full circle. Full circle. Full circle. Where the arc length of a full circle, is equivalent to its circumference. Arc length of a full circle is equivalent to its circumference. Where arc length of a full circle is equivalent to its circumference. Equivalent to its circumference. Second point. Therefore, 360 degrees, must be equivalent to the ratio between circumference and the radius of a circle. Should be equivalent to the ratio between circumference and the radius of a circle. 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 Within brackets, in radians. In radians. In radians. In radians. මෙයාව ටක් ගාලා දාගමු නේද මෙතන මෙතන. බලන්න මේ තියරි හරිම සිම්පල් නේ. දැන් ෆිසික්ස් ක්ලාස් එකේ එහෙම මේ කියලා දෙන මාර්කුණක් කරනවා. බඩ ගහලා එක්සැම්පල් 20ක් විතර කරලා. right? හරක් කන්සෙප්ට් නේ. ටගල. If you are done with writing, I am going to give you the first question of the day. A big one, but a simple one. A long one, but an easy one. Shitty one, but a beautiful one. Right? So let's see. Domestic fellows. Can I erase this? online babala. If I can erase it, can you raise your hands? Then I ලස්සන දාගන්න මේ equations එකම දාගන්න. මේව කටපාඩම් කරන්නේ මේ පහ හරක් වගේ. S over R equals theta, ST equals R theta, R දෙකවසර වගේ. Right? So don't cram them down, just know the concept, that's more than enough, right? කටපාඩම් ගන්න පුළුවන් කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා commerce වල මාරු වෙන. We have the econ teacher here. So if you feel like you can cram down things, you can do commerce. But once again, when you go to econ and accounting, you have math. ආයෙ කියලා වෙලා ඊට පස්සේ කියන්න එපා art වලට යන්න ඕනේ කියලා නෙමෙයි. Right? Okay. So moving on, we have 180 degrees being equal to pi, naked pi. Naked pi is what? Radians. So we have 180 degrees being equal to pi radians, right? Morning put radians. And radians, right? So we have 180 degrees being equal to pi radians. Are we clear? So if someone questions, then මේව කරන්න බැරි නම් A level maths කරන්න එපා. දෙකෙන් බෙදන්න තුනෙන් බෙදන්න පුළුවන් නේ. ඒකනේ මේ කරන්න ආවේ. 90 degrees කියන්නේ කවුද එනද? pi over 2. හරිනේ? මේක තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් වෙන මොනවාරි job එකක් හොයාගන්න දැම්මම cleaning jobs තියෙනවා, right? So you have painting jobs, right? මේව කරන්න. Then we have 45 degrees. So I am dividing again by 2. මොකද කියන්නේ? pi over 4. See? පාටලසනේ. And if you divide again, I'm getting a very ugly one. 22.5. මං ආසනේ ඉඳ මං කරන්නේ. හරි? So I am starting once again from 180. 180 degree equals pi. Now I am dividing. May divide karenge. This is divided by what? Divided by 2. Now I am going to divide by what? 3 yango. Let's divide by 3. So 180 divided by 3. What is that? 60. So this should be pi over 3. Divide by 3, 20. This is pi over 9. Can you divide this by 3 to a beautiful number? No. Right? We can divide this by 2, divide this by 3, divide this by 4, divide this by 5, 6, 7 by 8, 9, 10, 11 by 12, 13 by 14 by 15, 16 1. 360 divided by 16. Can we divide without a remainder? Ban, because 4 times we have 90, 90 over 4, right? So we have 17, 18 possible, 20 possible, 24 possible, right? And then 30 possible, 33 is not possible, 36 is possible. So now this is the question for you. Last question එක ඕනම example කියලා තියාගන්න. right? ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තියෙනවා table එකක් fill කරන්න. I am going to give you 15 to 20 minutes for that. නිදහසේ කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. කැමරා ටික off කරන් හරි කරන්න. හැබැයි කැමරා off කරා කියලා හරක් වගේ එහෙම යන්න එපා. Just be there on the table and finish it. I just asked, I mean, like, when you are doing this question, you can turn off the camera because it's a long time. You are just working alone with yourself, right? So this is the question number 1, right? If you want, you can write down these examples. If you want, right? Examples. I'm going to erase this part so that I can present it. I want you to always start like this. 180 degree, okay, equals pi. And the scoring is 2, which means I divide this by what? 2. The extra divide 2. 180 divided by 2 can go 90 degrees, and that is equal to pi over 2. Are you ready? Divide by 2, 45 degrees, and you get pi over 4. And you stop there. Number 3. It's like a table. and you have 180 being equal to pi. And then you write, okay, divide by 3 is 60. And that is pi over 3. Divide by 3, 20. That is pi over 9. And then you write 4. Let's say this is division of 4, right? So you have 180 being equal to pi. 180 degrees equal to pi. So divide by 4 is 45. 45. So 45 is equal to pi over 4. And further, you are not going to divide by 4, right? So moving further, you have 5, right? So on and so forth. 5, 6, right? So you have to fill the whole thing with all these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you have 15 columns and I don't know how many rows. You fill it. And as you are done with that, take a photograph of your table, put it in the WhatsApp group. From now on, you have 20 minutes. We had 15 minutes. Harageta 30 minutes. Right? So anyway, start right now. Now it's 4:45. You have time till 5:05. Right. So I think there are a lot of answers coming down. So this is not a very difficult question as well, right? So moving on, now we know that the angles can be expressed in degrees and also in radians, right? Not only that, we have now built a relationship between these two, right? For an example, if you have 180 degrees, right, which is equal to pi radian, right? Now we can actually think through a sector. This is a sector, right? And sector has some arc length, right? Some arc length. And this is angle in radians, theta, right? And this is the radius. So we know for a fact S divided by R is theta in radians, which is similar to writing S equals R theta, right? I mean, later, not right now, in the future, you will have something called differentiation, where you will write d over dt s, or rate of change of displacement, which is equal to velocity, right? And later you will learn something called d over dt theta, right? Rate of change of angular displacement, called angular velocity, theta dot, or we call it omega. And convert this equation to V equals R omega, right? Right? But still we are at the beginning, right? So even, yeah, that's right. So I mean, in the beginning, it looks very like ugly, but later we will have very beautiful application. Right? That's how mathematics is. It evolves, right? It doesn't stop anywhere. So this is like the initial setup of the concept. So we have S equals R theta, where you can calculate any length on a circle, the arc length of a circle. So when the arc length is discussed, someone can question, what about the area, isn't it? Isn't it? Someone can question, right? So let's write down topic, arc length. Next topic, arc length, and the area, arc length and the area of a sector, arc length and the area of a sector, right? So this is first part, arc length. And if you think area is a big deal, not at all. Area is pretty simple. This is like considering a sector. Let's say this angle is 30 degrees, okay? And if you are going to find the area, right? In grade 9, you said that this is 30 degrees over 360 degrees multiplied by area of a circle, that is pi r square. Am I correct? And only difference is this is not a linear measurement. So you write squared units. Squared units. Because whatever the unit you are using, millimeters or centimeters, decimeters, anything will be squared. So you call it a squared unit. Are we clear? So same scenario can be tested with what? Radians. So imagine now looking at this, specific example, I am going to make a general one, like let's say theta degrees. Will be theta degrees here, right? Isn't it? And if you adopt this for a sector where the angle is expressed in terms of radians, right? So if this is R, what are we going to get? You will get area is given by theta radians divided by 360 degrees, which is 2 pi, and 2 pi multiplied by area of the circle pi r square. Good news, pi cancels, right? And you get a nice equation that is half r squared theta, but here the theta is in radians. So this is the equation for the area of a sector. Right? So shall we get them down quickly? We have lazy concepts. So you have the arc length given by S equals r theta, and the area given by half r squared theta. Note karagana. Very simple. Very clean concepts. Right. So let me brief it again. People who are online, can you raise your hands if you have got this down? දාගෙන ඉවර කට්ටිය අත උස්සන්න බලන්න, like just press that button. I'll wait for you guys. Good. තව සෙට් එකක් තාම ලියනවනේ, පොඩ්ඩක් කියමු. Right? So let me erase this and revise what we have done. So find this particular context of arc length and the area of a sector. So going back to the basics, arc length, arc length is inspired by the concept where we started in terms of defining the radian and the angle measurement of radians. So arc length divided by the radius turned out to be the angle in radians, isn't it? Therefore, arc length, or else S, arc length, is now equal to radius multiplied by the angle in radians, right? Angle in radians. This is what we write in a shorter form as to S equals R theta. Same thing, right? So this is coming from the definition, right? Isn't it? Very simple, right? And then we have area equation. So how area is actually evolved. So that is coming from the basic area concept we used in grade 9. Area is given by whatever the angle in degrees divided by 360 degrees multiplied by pi r squared, isn't it? So we actually cover the same concept in radians, isn't it? So we write, okay, area is given by theta radians divided by 2 pi radians times pi r squared, and surprisingly pi gets cancelled. There you get a nice equation, half radius squared multiplied by angle in radians, and that's what we simply write. This is half r squared theta, isn't it? So this is all we need to learn here, right? Very simple, right? So we have S equals r theta, and we have A equals half r squared theta. Now we have to get familiar with them, right? These are two main concepts, but we shouldn't cram them down. We should understand them, isn't it? Again, make a element. If you cram it down, you are in trouble, right? You need to know this. You need to understand this. You need to apply this afterwards. So write down brief and please write it once again. Make a කතා කරන්න තව තේරෙනවද? කතා කරන්න තව තේරෙනවා. ලියන්න තව concept එක clear වෙනවා, right? So we need to make everything super clear. ලැජ්ජ වෙන්න නැතුව මේ brief ලියා ගන්න, කිසිම අවුලක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. පොතේ කොළ වැඩිපුර ගියා කියලා කේස් එකක් නැහැ. කොළ දැන් ගණන් වුණාට කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. So write it and get the concept in your mind and then throw the book away. You won't need a book. You just need the mind, pens and some papers later. Right. Okay, question number 2 for the day. Then ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ equation ආවම ඔක්කොම අයින් කරන්න. දැන් කෙලින්ම natural mind එකෙන් තමයි හිතන්නේ. හරි? බේසි වැඩ. Question number 1. Actually 2, right? Question number 2. Let's say this is 30 degrees. And this length is 7 units. I mean the radius. So find the arc length. Find the arc length. And the area of the sector. So let's name it as O, A, B. So this is how we name a sector. O, A, B. This is the question. Very simple question. Direct forward one. මුලින්ම කරන කෙනාට දැක්ක හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ ඉක්මනට කරන්න. Length is AB. So AB is given by 7 times 30 degrees cannot be used. That should be pi over 6, right? So your answer is 7 pi over 6 units. Then centimeters අනම්ම නම් එහෙම දාන්න එපා. චූටි බබාලා තමයි දාන්න. Simple, right? Area. So let me call it area itself. So area OAB is half r squared theta, that is once again pi over 6. So there we have 49 pi over 12 squared units. May answers එක ලස්සනට ආපු කොට එතකොට තමයි the people who got these 2 answers without any hesitation මෙතන දෙන්නෙක් ඉන්නවා 3 දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. ගෙදර බලමු. The people who got it comfortably without any hesitation. Very good. Good. එහෙමයි. අනික කට්ටියත් ලියා ගන්න. හරි? මේ ආපු නැති කට්ටියත් දාන්න. එහෙම දාන්න එපා ඒක ඇතයි. ඒකේ තේරුම units to the power 2 කියලා දාන්න එපා. ඒක නිකන් හරියට මේ වගේ. මට මාර වැඩක් උනේ. මට මාර squared වැඩක් උනේ. මට වැඩක් squared උනේ. මාර අවුල්නේ. එහෙම දාන්න එපා. So let's move on. Question number 3. අනුමාතාවයක දෙනවා මම. එක equation එක දිහා බලන්න එපා. concept එකෙන් කරන්න ඕනේ. දැන් ආතලේ තියෙන්නේ. තේරෙනවනේ මම කියන එක. So don't look at the equations, huh? Then you are wasting your, memory capacity. That is not needed. Memory is needed for chemistry, physics, right? ඒ වගේ වට තමයි ඒව ඕනේ. මේකට ඕනේ නැහැ. Question number 3, am I correct? 3 නේද අපි දෙන්නේ යන්නේ. 3 නේ. Question number 3. Okay. You have 10 units here. 10 units. And you have, මම 9 කියලා ගන්න මම ආසයි 9. And you have 6 units here. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ චූටි එකනාගේ radius. හරිනේ? Okay. So let's call this O as usual. And let's name this point as A. This is B. Okay. Let me call this X and Y. හරිනේ? හොලමනේ? And this is so question number 1. Find the perimeter and perimeter of A, X, Y, B. And number 2, the area A, X, Y, B. කරන්න බෑ. Good point. Angle එක හොයන්න කොහොමද නේ? අපි මේකට දාමු 60 degrees. 60 degrees, huh? 60 degree 30 දාමු නේ. නිකන් බොරුවක් දැම්මා වගේ. 30 degrees, 6 units, the smaller sector, 9 units, the bigger sector. හරිනේ? කරන්න බෑ. ලස්සන කරන්න ඕනේ. මේ මම mute කරා. if you have any answers, completed ones, you can place it on the WhatsApp group. Answer cover. So first of all, the perimeter. So AX plus XY plus BY plus AB, isn't it? So it's a fact that AX is just a length 9 minus 6, that is 3 units, isn't it? And similarly, BY is 3 units. But here we will have to apply this idea of the arc length, which is equivalent to the radius multiplied by the angle. So if you look at XY, that is a bigger radius, so that is 9. And angle is 30, that is pi over 6. Correct? And AB is a smaller arc length, so that is 6 multiplied by same angle, pi over 6. Right? So the answer for the first one is going to be 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 3 times 2, here 3 times 2 and 3 times 3, so which is 3 pi over 2 plus this 6 cancels this 6, so I have pi, and to ease the simplification, I multiply this by 2 and divide by 2, so that you get the common denominator. So now you have 6 plus 5 pi over 2 units. Then the area. So I can write. So area AX YB is equal to half bigger radius squared minus smaller radius squared times theta, right? Why is that? Because it's half r square theta minus half r square theta. Theta is same here. So it's basically difference of 2 squares. So we can write in this scenario, it's going to be half. Bigger radius is 9. So 9 squared. Smaller radius 6 squared. Theta is pi over 6. Now we can write this is half. 9 minus 6 is 3. 9 plus 6 is 15 times pi over 6. Difference of 2 squares, all only. Right? So now we can simplify further. We have 3 times 1, 3 times 2. So game over. This is 15 pi over 4 squared units. Game on nane. My answers, the people who got both the answers correct and sound and no problem. People who got the answers without any hesitation, can we just press the raise the hand button? Good. Good. The people who got the correct answer, so we have 3. We have 3. Do we have more? Right? Corrections in the okay, now raise your hands if you have understood this concept so far. Method concept right? Very mara clear. Kisima olak ne, oluda kisima karadran ne, nidahase gaya dul. Ne, nidahase gaya ne. Make drug ganno ke diye no ne ganta tamage recipe karan ganta adul ne wadinna diye no, right? Tamai nane what drug ganno no ke diye. Ne hoja. Right? Make it complete karagana. I'm going to erase it. But now we put here the padanga the lesson is hand oda kalla diye na ne. The reason when you go through the point called the curiosity, right? When you start, focusing on that, you will capitalize on syllabus. මේක තමයි ගොඩක් අයට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. We capitalize on questions so that your curiosity is actually missed. That is good for applied mathematics. ඒක නම වෙන කෙනෙක් නේ. Right? Applied mathematics also we can do it with a very curious base. But to be honest, in applied mathematics, you need some sort of a practice because you have a lot of applications to be looking at. Because that's more practical and this is more theoretical. So here you need to have the conceptual understanding, and I would say if you learn this way, pure maths paper is given 3 hours in the examination, but you can complete it within 2 hours for sure. ඒ තරම් lazy paper. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට all world maths paper එකේ ලකුණු CNC එකක් දාන්න එක කොච්චර ෂුවර්ද? ඒ වගේම pure paper එකේ CNC එකක් දාන්න පුළුවන්. And when you do your workload in terms of applied mathematics, when your pure is good, applied will be actually what? Very strong. අයි වගේ simplification fast, ඔයාලට වැඩේ තේරෙනවා, concept තේරෙනවා. So you will just work on your own path. Very simple. Right? And I know for a fact Raji is a person who is like putting the people into the game. පොඩ ඇදලා අරගෙන ගේම ගස්සන එක. right? මම එහෙම නෙමෙයි මං කියන්නේ ඕනනම් කරව නැත්නම් හිටපන්. වෙයි එහෙම නෙමෙයි. එයා ඇවිල්ලා ගේම් එක ආවනම් මේක කරන්න ඕනේ කියන සීන් එකකින්. right? So that approach is needed. So that attitude is needed. So when we collaborate these two things only, you become a proper person. So I used to do that part when I was doing classes those days in applied mathematics. But now I feel like I have to be more free. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ දක්කගෙන යන්න හරක් වගේ හදන් යන්න මං ආස නෑ. I want to give you the enlightenment and then the game is over. So you will upgrade rather practicing yourself. Right? So you don't actually work on trends. You will set the trends. Like I do. මට ඕනේ එහෙම උන්ටියක් හදාන්න. හරක් සෙට් එකක් හදලා අර කවුරු හරි කියන එකක් අහගෙන පොලිටිෂියන් කෙනෙක් කිව්වම අහගෙන අම්මා කිව්වම අහගෙන තාත්තා කිව්වම අහගෙන බඳින්න ගියාම අම්මා ආස කෙනා තමයි බඳින්නේ. මට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ මොනවද මේ ලංකාවේ වෙන්නේ කියලා. තාමත් ඉන්නවා. right? ඒ වගේ මාර අපි හරි අමුතු වෙනම ගොබ්බ ලොජිකල් රටක්. If you want to marry someone, your parents are selecting a person to marry you. ඉතින් හිතපන් ඒ තරම් ජෝගියක් තියෙනවද කියලා ලෝකෙ කොහෙද? right? ඉන්දියාවේ තියෙනවා. right? I mean that much of a joke kind of a life we are living, but still we celebrate it. අපි celebrate උත් කරනවා. ඒකනේ මරුමේඩේ කියන්නේ අපි මෝඩයි කියලා අපිටම තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. But yet we celebrate it. And also we bring logics to compensate that. right? ඒ විතර නෙමෙයි අපි හින්දි ෆිල්ම් උත් බලනවා. මේ ඇල්ලුවාම කරන්ට් වදින උනුත් ඉන්නවා. So they are like made for each other. එනම ගොබ්බ logic නේ. right? So learn mathematics, then you will understand at least the gobba parts of these logics, the things that you call logic, right? So then your subject will be very curious and you will be more enthusiastic in terms of developing the subject and you will automatically get into a result. Your thinking will be very different. Even if you compare right now the people who were there for the first 2 months and when you talk with the other friends, you must be feeling that difference, right? If you don't feel that, that means you haven't learned from me. Again, ඔයාලා යාළුවොත් එක්ක කතා කරද්දී ඕගොල්ලෝ කතා කරන context එකයි උන් කතා කරන context එකයි තේරෙන්න උන් එන සිඟිති සීන් එකේ ඉන්නේ කියලා. right? ටියුට් එකක් අරගෙන question ගොඩාරියක් තියාගෙන ඒවා ටික කකා ඉන්න. right? So that's what you would see most of the students. On the other hand, you don't have a single tutorial, but you have a conceptual background and you have something in your mind so that you can even talk with other people and explain. That's what I need. Right? So let's move on. A little bit further, මොකද අද අපි සෑහෙන දුරක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන දැන් because we completed radians, degrees, the connection between degrees and radians, so on and so forth. Right? Come. Why, what is it? Right. Okay, that will come after the class, okay? Again. So this is like the last stage of today's class, right? In the Honda conference, so I'm going to erase this. Right. On the band media, right? We started with the idea called angle. I'm killing down. But we never defined the term angle, right? Did we? Angle. Define karane. Okay, now you have a better knowledge in terms of angle, right? Shall we define the angle? Very simple. Right? I'm not wasting time also like asking you questions. Angle is the measurement of space between two arms. We are measuring the space, right? Am I correct? It's okay. So let's go other way around. Right. So we have the space, isn't it? This is the space we are measuring, right? So when the angle is bigger, space is bigger, right? Am I correct? So we would say we are measuring the space between two arms. See, this is one arm and this is the other arm. Right? So we have two arms and we are measuring the space. Then answer same if someone questions like a small kid or your parents or your neighbors. Right? Now you know what is an angle. So this is a measurement of space. Measurement of space between two arms. Right? So when someone says angle, the very first thing that should come to your mind would be real numbers or let's say numbers. Real numbers. Or we can even call them what? Scalars. If it is necessary, because you know real numbers are scalars. So there's one science that actually connects these two, right, avenues, and that is we call trigonometry, isn't it? Trig. So this is what we are focusing on, right? So you can write this definition of the angle, right? And that is measurement of space between two arms. And scalars or real numbers are another world. Let's say we have a number line, right? Something like this, real number line. And we have different angles in different triangles, rectangles. I mean, angles are everywhere, right? I mean, angles can be everywhere, right? So we are connecting two worlds here, right? So this is like multiverse of madness, but I mean, basically what's happening is connecting two different psychological worlds, right? So this is the game we are on, and there will be another question on the WhatsApp group. I'm going to send it once again to the group. So there is your homework question, right? And our next lesson will be on this Thursday. So this Thursday we are having trigonometry lesson number 2, and then next Tuesday 2 repeated, next Thursday 3, next Tuesday 3 repeated. Because we might have to go along around, let's say 9 such lessons to finish trigonometry, or maybe even more, right? So I'm trying my best to minimize, but I'm trying my best to capitalize in terms of giving you more exposure in terms of understanding, right? And for trigonometry, there's a specific textbook that I am referring to. That is Loney's Treatise of Trigonometry. There's no point of having any kind of tutorial because all the tutorials are just the replicates of that particular book, where whatever the tutorial given by a tutor or a book that you buy from a bookshop is going to be a subset of Loney's Treatise of Trigonometry, right? So that is there in Sarasavi or any other bookshop. You can check Loney's Treatise of Trigonometry. Is very famous book. Loney, you know, Loney, S.L. Loney, right? So I checked last time when I went there whether I can actually, buy, few books for the people who are coming here. But I mean, they didn't have stocks, right? But just let me check this Wednesday, that means tomorrow, right? Because I have asked them to let me know Then I said I will come on this Wednesday because you also have to buy some books. So I'll go there tomorrow. And when I go there, I'll update on the group that this much of books are there. So if anyone cannot buy the book, just let me know. I will buy and keep it here. So the people who are coming here, they can get it. And people who cannot come, I can actually deliver it to their address on what you call this cash on delivery method, right? Postage, you can get it, right? Because in our system, we have the delivery mechanism on the website. When you put the address and all, we have the delivery system and you can get everything delivered by and by, right? So all the facilities are provided, right? And I was not joking in terms of supporting the students in terms of technical difficulties, to be honest. In case if there's anyone who doesn't have a camera, I don't know, something not working from your end properly to join the classes, just let me know. Don't be shy. And there were a few people who actually requested for the scholarship programs, like waiving off one subject because they had some financial difficulties and all. So I supported them, right? So, I mean, it is not a big deal because these days we have to help each other. So, anyone who's having a proper, financial, format, they may pay so that maybe you are helping the other kids, right? So, that is a technical truth. And I think this is almost the end of today's lesson, right? And now I need your feedback. Are you guys happy about today's lesson? At least raise your hands so that I can understand because right? I mean, if you don't feel good, you can say, I don't feel good, right? Okay, then final reminding you like every day, interactive. I mean, you can talk, you can shout, you can question, you don't do that. So with the time, I'm pretty sure that you will be familiar with that, right? And anyone who can actually come physically to the class, please come because now most of these issues are sorted in terms of transportation stuff. So whoever can come physically, come to the class so that you have more interaction. You can ask questions after the class. But if there's anyone who cannot come physically, be online with the camera and use the mic, use the sound, use the reactions, use the chat. Then it will be a very interactive class, right? Then only all the people will be happy and sound and it won't be boring any further. So the one final thing, please place your comment on the WhatsApp group right after the class. Class podi comment because that becomes our journal. Comment so that you actually share. I think there was this sudden power cut, so we had to wait till the generator is, moving on to the electricity supply. But I guess we don't need that anymore because our class is almost over. If you really want to see, what's happening here, I can turn on the video, but I don't think it will help. So guys, have a nice day, nice week, and do the homework question. I'm going to place it on the WhatsApp group. And if you have any further question, problem, anything that you want to sort out, you can always, drop a WhatsApp message. And I hope that you guys are, enjoying the applied class as well, like you participate in the pure mathematics class. So basically, next Thursday, we will have second lesson of pure mathematics. And next Tuesday, we will continue the same lesson we did today, right? Okay, guys, have a good night. And also, don't forget to, mention your comment on the WhatsApp group. I'll send you the question as well in a while. All right, bye.